welcome back to the Care.ē.on podcast. My name is Brittany Lo, and I'm the founder and CEO of Bea. Today, we're with Madison Headrick, who is a fashion supermodel and entrepreneur. She debuted her modeling career in 2012 on the runways with Prada, and since then has graced the covers of Vogue, Elle, and Harper's Bazaar. She is also an advocate for environmental conservation and female empowerment in developing countries. And in 2022, she launched her skincare line, Care.ē.on, with the belief that health and wellness extends into your skincare and self-care. Madison, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I remember meeting you, I guess, in 2022 at your launch party, and you had the most beautiful friends part of it. And what I loved was how down to earth and kind you were, your friends were, and the whole mission behind you starting your skincare line.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a fun night. I was so nervous that night. I got up and made a speech and literally blacked out. I don't remember.
And also,
that
wasn't it 2 weeks before your wedding?
Yes.
I was like, wait, so she launches a skincare line. She has this full-blown modeling career, and she's getting married in Italy in 2 weeks later.
It was crazy. It was crazy. That was such a crazy point in my life. I was just yes, manning everything. And I was like, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it.
And you did it.
I did it, but it was a lot. But
and
that was fun.
Wow. And so you started your modeling career in 2012.
Yeah.
And so did you think that was your end all be all for your career? Or was there a moment where you're like, okay, I love this, but I want to do something more in addition?
It's funny. I never really realized that I had made the decision to be a model and that was my life, because it all happened so fast, and it happened by chance and by great timing. It's funny. I started full-time modeling in 2012 when I was 18, but I was actually scouted when I was 14.
Oh, wow.
In a Walmart.
No way.
Yeah.
Wait, where?
South Carolina. Yeah, it was wild. And it was just I was 14 and it was after school and cheerleading practice, and I was approached by a town scout, and that's we'll be here all day. It's the craziest story. But so it happened really fast, and I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted to try. And my first shoot was with Ralph Lauren. And
casual from Walmart to Ralph Lauren.
Well, literally in the blink of an eye. And my parents were like, whoa, what's happening? I did one thing to try it out, and then it was just next week this, then this, then this, then this, then this. And then my parents were like, okay, first of all, we're finishing school. You're 14 years old. And you're mature, but you're not that mature. And so I finished school. And then when I was 18, I decided to actually graduated school a semester early. And I was like, I'm going to use this semester to give modeling my all. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go. I was already enrolled in college and at College of Charleston. And it's okay, if it doesn't go well, I have my dorm, I have everything ready to go. If it goes well, see ya. And so I gave myself that 6 months to give it my all, and I did. And then I blinked and I'm here. I didn't even have the dramatic goodbye in the driveway to my parents as I pack my bag and go to New York for the first time. It was just I'm going for a week, and then the next job confirmed, and then the next job, and then the next job. And now I blink and I'm like,
so you're like, okay, I'm going to give this my all. I'll give it a semester, which I think is smart. Give it your all. And if it doesn't work out, at least you already had your game plan. But did you take classes? How did you learn how to model and get that level of jobs so quickly?
It is crazy. There's no class. There's nothing. You just learn. My first shoot, I had never been in front of a real camera before. And so
no
parents
way.
were we get picked up from the airport, and there's these Escalades, and we go out to this huge castle upstate, and it's Isabelle and Valentina and who else is it? It was all these obviously very well-known models. And I was 14 and I was just I'm just happy to be missing school for the day. And then there was catering and
you're free food. Yeah. I get to play in a castle.
I'm
miss school.
Dope. But I had no idea what I was doing. And so my parents are with me in hair and makeup, and they're like, do you know what you're doing? What are we about to do? And I was like, I have no idea. My parents just fake it. Wait, fake it till you make it, honey. Let's see how today goes. You're going back to school. We're going back home. This is a fun experience. I get on set. There's fans blowing. Isabella's whipping her hair. And I'm just like the only picture I'd ever taken was like a Christmas card photo. So that was wild. And I just learned from my surroundings and I learned as I went. But yeah, that 6 months so during that semester where I was in New York, we got the phone call, my agent, that I had been confirmed as a Prada exclusive, which back then was the biggest deal ever. That means that like you're not allowed to do anything else, just Prada. And it was like winning the fashion lottery. Like that's the best thing that could happen to a new face, a new person. And so,
and you're 18 years old at that time.
Yeah, 18. And then it just went off from there. And then, yeah, but it's funny. I didn't even realize it had happened.
And was there a point where you showed up to your first photo shoot or second photo shoot and you're like, oh my gosh, I am surrounded by top talent. I'm getting paid to stand in front of a camera. I haven't done this often. Like, do you have any sort of imposter syndrome or insecurities? Or was it almost a sense of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's just figure it out.
It was almost as if like ignorance is bliss. I was so young and had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't intimidated because I didn't know what I was doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like now I look back, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I was in a room with Stephen Meisel and Pat and Guido and Naomi and like all of these supermodels and like the most legendary fashion icons. And there's me like 18-year-olds old, like literally on Facebook, just like wondering when the like next football game is that I'm missing out on and like prom. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't realize like fashion. I never grew up around fashion in Charleston. So I thought what I was doing was really fun and really special. And I loved all the characters that I met and I was super grateful, but I wasn't really intimidated or nervous or insecure because I didn't realize what I was actually doing. Now looking back, I'm like, whoa.
You're like, if I knew what I knew now,
yeah,
I probably would prep a little bit differently. But I do think that's such a superpower. Like I remember going to I went to this college called Babson College. Everyone goes there to learn how to be an entrepreneur. So like the idea is that you're like, okay, I'm going to give up this corporate job and I'm just going to do my own thing and figure out how I'll live in New York City. And people are like, that is such a good idea. What else would you do? And then you step outside of a bubble and then people are like, well, how are you going to pay your bills? Like, where is your rent coming from? And the logic starts setting in. And I do think not having that, like you said, ignorance is bliss. And so for you to be able to go all into it without overthinking the situation is probably set you up for success for photo shoot 2, 3, 4.
Totally.
And the runway.
But there was definitely a point where like I was lucky enough to be in that position and to be getting those opportunities. But then there was a point that I sat down with my agent and my manager, my dad, who like has really advised me on a lot of things, and be like, okay, we were lucky, like right place, right time, luck. But now, you know, moving forward to keep this going, like now we need to make a plan. Now you need to have goals. Now, you know, you need to be strategic and really have the mindset of like, what do you want out of this? Like this is a life choice you're making. And then at such a young age, you know, my friends were going off to college and rushing and doing sororities, and I was having to make really big business decisions. And this was something that I wanted to do for fun and give it a shot. And now I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, you know, which road are you going to take? So yeah, there was definitely I had to grow up really fast.
And we can imagine which path you chose, but was that what ultimately made you decide to go down the modeling path versus going the more traditional college path?
So I think that I just realized that I was getting so much out of modeling culturally. I was just learning so much, and it's interesting because I had this old school mentality of like, I have to go to college. I have to do this. I have to do this, or like, it doesn't really count. You know what I mean? Like for whatever reason. And so I ended up actually going to NYU part-time as I was modeling, which was the biggest mistake I ever made. I made the decision one day. I was like, okay, life's short and modeling may not be here forever, but school always will. And whatever I do, I want to give it my all and also be able to enjoy it. And once I made that decision that I was like, I'm modeling, this is what I'm doing, it's what was fulfilling me the most. And so I made that decision like after 2 years at doing part-time of both. And then it was kind of all up from there.
And once you made that decision, because I do agree with you, sometimes when you're trying to do a little bit of everything versus going deep into the piece that you're really passionate about, you're really not going to see your potential. And so once you made that decision to go all in on modeling, did you see a shift in your modeling career?
Totally. And I was also, that's one thing I think with any path you choose in career wise is like meeting people and socializing and networking. And then this one led to that one. And I was shooting with this photographer who, really liked me and just kept booking me. And then I was meeting more clients through him. And then I was getting booked with those clients more regularly. And then it just like kind of kept building rather than just like showing up, doing the work and like not really talking to anyone because I didn't have time. I was studying. So being able to like fully immerse myself, I became like a fashion kid.
Wow. I think that's something where in certain careers, you see the finished product, but you don't really see how people go from A to B. But it seems like with modeling, it's not just how well you pose in front of the camera, but all the work that you're putting when the camera's not on, between building those relationships, making friends, and spending time outside of the photo shoots to build your own network so that they can refer you and you can grow along with the photographer or other models.
Totally. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And and then how did you get that call to be a Prada exclusive? Like, did that come from a networking opportunity or meeting someone, or totally out of the blue?
That was totally out of the blue. So with Prada really liked when selecting like who they exclude, it's usually like 4 girls a season. And they like to I think it's tricky because it depends on each brand, but Prada specifically loves a new face. They love to, have someone that no one's seen before, right? It's not like people look at the Prada girl, they're like, oh, I recognize her from Balenciaga, or I recognize her from Saint Laurent. It's like, no, she's Prada. Like, that's the Prada girl, right? I was going on castings and castings and castings. And it was my first Fashion Week season. And Ashley Brokaw was casting for Prada, and she's the one that confirmed me as the exclusive, which was like a huge moment of my career. But yeah, it's funny. It's like it's better to have not done anything at all.
Wow, that sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
where they find 4 people and you're one of them, and they approached you. Wow. And so you mentioned casting calls. So I'm someone who deals with rejection, but I'm not very good with rejection, and casting calls feels like there's a lot of yes or no's back to back to back. And you have to have a really tough skin, at least from where I'm standing. How are casting calls? Like, how did you deal with, it seems like you've gotten the best yeses in the world, but I can imagine there's also a lot of no's that come along with it. How did you learn to adapt and move on from those no's, especially at a young age?
As a fresh teenager with all the hormones and your body's changing and you're like, who am I every day when you wake up, to like have like a French person looking at you and being like, no, right? You're just walking in the room.
Like, I can change my hair. You want it up?
Exactly. And that was really hard for me. And that was a chapter in my modeling book that I was like, oh no, I don't know if I can do this. Like hearing no, especially during Fashion Week 40 times in one day, every day, I was like, the amount that this does on my soul is not okay. And I was like just such a vulnerable teenage girl. And I was like, you know what? I can go back to Charleston. I can go back to normal life. I don't need to do this. And then I sat down with my dad, who has been like my mentor through life and especially through business. And he sat down and he was like, listen, this is a job. This is work. It's like if you're working at a car dealership and you're selling a car and someone's like, I don't like blue cars. And it's like, okay, I get it. Like a red car makes more sense, like I need more seats because I have a bigger family. Like, okay, it's just not the right fit. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the car. I may just not fit that vision for that specific project. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with me. I'm just not the right fit. And once I made that realization, I was like, oh, It's fine. And then
it's not a no to me. It's just like a no for the character.
Yeah.
They love me.
Yeah, exactly. Like once I realized that and kind of removed the emotion out of it and looked at myself almost as the product, right? And not as a Madison. It's not that they don't like Madison. It's just
you've almost had to
right
commercialize yourself, right? Because the tough part, we had someone who is a fitness model and fitness instructor on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she was saying like so much of your self-worth is correlated to her body. And I think that's similar to modeling, is that yes, in theory, it's not a no to you, but I think it's a much harder transition to say this is me and this is what they're looking for, or the character that they're looking for, but it's not a reflection on my self-worth or who I am. And I think that's a very delicate balance to find.
Totally. And it's also, like I remember there's this one collection and during fall winter, and I was working so much because I have broader shoulders than most, and so like all the jackets fit really well. I mean, I was like, yes. Like, yeah, like, but like in other collections, they'd be like, oh, the shoulders are too wide. The dress just doesn't fall the way it's supposed to. But yeah, I mean, that realization took a lot of maturity, and it's a lot easier said than done because, like I said, being 18, 19, 20 years old as a girl, and like someone telling you, oh, like shoulders too wide or hips are too wide for this, or not tall enough, or too tall, or too like whatever. It's like, that's hard and that's heavy. But yeah, I made that mental switch and it took time to get there, but that's when I understood and I could easily hear no. And for every great yes I've heard 1,000 no's before, for sure, especially with modeling.
And so is there anything that you do, like any mantra or anything that what is a power pose? Is it a mantra? Is it something that you tell yourself before going into a casting call these days that helps you set yourself up for success now that you've learned all that?
I think something, it's like just experience. And now when I go into a like I used to get so nervous. Like if I would get an email, it was like, hey babe, we need you to come into the agency tomorrow for a meeting. I'd be like I'm not sleeping, or it's like, oh, you have this huge casting tomorrow for Calvin Klein or whatever. I literally wouldn't sleep. I would be a nervous wreck. But now it's just like, it's second nature. I mean, I've been doing it since I was 14. Like it's like, I think I don't get so nervous now with whether it's a big shoot or a big show. Once I feel like, okay, this is a safe place, I can be my weird, crazy self, then I go all out. But it's like, if I'm meeting someone for the first time, I'm really quiet, I'm really reserved. And my mom, she was like, it's almost like a Sasha Fierce thing, right? Like it's like a Beyonce, like you are not Madison, like you are a different character, like you're showing up like, and it's funny because like I'm still like myself, but the way I am, I just like go into this mode that it's like, I'm this different character. And like, it's fine if people think that pose was like stupid. It's that character doing it. It's not me doing it. I just like go into this other mind zone.
I love that. So it's almost like shifting gears and putting yourself in the mindset of a character or Beyonce and channeling that energy. So you show up and it's not a reflection on you. If you do something quirky and fun, that's amazing, versus trying to fit a certain box that you think that they're going to want.
Right.
I love that. And so now that you've had this career for so long, what was that moment when you said, okay, I think I want to start a skincare line?
Yeah. So I would literally, right before the pandemic, because things kind of changed after that travel wise for shoots, but pre-pandemic, all the days added up within the year that I was at home sleeping in my own bed was less than 3 months, about 2.5 months out of all the days added together. So I was literally living on airplanes and out of a suitcase. And the thing with modeling is everywhere I am, I'm only there for a day. Like I fly in, shoot, and I get out because I have a shoot the next day. So I'm always traveling out of a carry-on size luggage because I don't have time to wait for a checked luggage. And if it gets lost, then it's a whole thing. So I just was like always on the road and like always just like exhausted. I feel like I wasn't looking good. I wasn't feeling good. My internal clock was off and I was just like stressed and exhausted, and the packing and the unpacking. And so I was like, okay, something's got to change. I got to figure out something to like streamline this better. Like this needs to be just like 1, 2, go. Like I can't waste so much time. If I have a day off, I don't want to be worrying about packing the whole thing. So I was like, this just needs to run like an oiled machine. And that's where I came up with the idea for Care.ē.on, because I was making all these little kits where I would have travel size things in it that were just like in my suitcase, like charger, skincare. So all I had to do was put clothes on and go out the door. And I was just looking for a solution that helped me look good and feel good. And so, yeah, that's where Care.ē.on came about, because I thought, what if I had these curated kits and they were just in all of my bags? My gym bag, my book bag, my suitcase. I just don't, it's one less thing I have to think about. And it really worked for me. And it also, gave me more opportunity to be able to practice self-care, because I didn't have to prepare to self-care. I could just self-care, like being on the go and being busy. And no matter what, I have, a moment that's just like within arm's reach, even if it's 30 seconds, just closing my eyes and a deep breath and a face mist or a moisture or doing a mask, just like having one little moment throughout a busy day just really started transforming the rest of my week and year. And
well, I will say, even your hand sanitizer, like, it's funny, I didn't even pack it purposefully, but it's always in my bag. And whenever I travel, that is the sanitizer that I use. I'm like, oh, I feel like this is almost like an elevated skincare product versus a Purell, sanitizer. And I was like, oh, this makes me feel excited for this trip. I feel ready to go. So it's those little moments that I love that you're saying. It's like, it doesn't need to take a lot of time to do, but it's every product that you have, sets you up for a really great flight or trip without really thinking too much about it.
Totally. And I think that that's something that I really struggled with. So I was like, okay, this idea of self-care sounds so selfish. Like, it's all about you. And it's like someone who has a busy day to be like, I need an hour for myself. Like, girl, like that sounds so crazy. Like, just having a small moment, even if it's a minute, is such a game changer for me. And that's like the only way I can get through such a hectic schedule.
I love that. And so have you found a lot of your model friends also be able to easily integrate your products because they share that same pain point?
Totally. I think everyone in the industry, everyone's makeup artists and hairstylists, especially stylists, with all the luggage and everything. It's just like, when you have to do all that, the last thing you're thinking about is yourself and your things. It's like, okay, I need to get the product to the shoe. We can't miss this or whatever. And so it's just always in your bag and it's there. And now as a new mom, I'm like, I thought that was hard, like traveling nonstop. I'm like, getting out the house with a newborn is an Olympic sport. I'm like, the amount of things that I'm just grasping trying to get out the door. The last thing I do is bring anything for myself.
And so especially if you can have travel size, easy to go. But it's also funny because you just did a pop-up at Shopify last month. And I knew you had a newborn, but I thought that was 6 months ago, because if you don't know, setting up a pop-up shop at Shopify is a ton of work. And even getting people through the doors, it's a whole operation. And I just learned today, you had your son 3 months ago. That means you had your son 2 months before that pop-up. What? So I know you're always busy modeling and traveling, but how does the busyness pre-motherhood versus now compare?
It's wild. Like, I thought I had no time in it. No. Now I have no time in it. It is crazy. Like, if I have 5 minutes, I feel like I have 5 hours. Like, wow. The things I can do in 5 minutes now is unheard of. It's wild.
So what can you do in 5 minutes?
I can get ready for the day. I can feed the dog. I can wash some bottles. It's the amount, it's just it's the amount that the baby takes is a lot. It's a lot of work. When they say it takes a village, it takes an entire country.
Well, even seeing our friends, we went to the Berkshires 2 weeks ago, and everyone, you could pop in a car, no flights, but to see the amount of bags they had for one newborn, I was like, wait, I've never had that many pieces of luggage in my entire life. This little child that's a foot, maybe weighs 6 pounds or 7 pounds, has so much stuff.
It's crazy. I mean, so I'm flying for the first time with him on Friday, which I was like, this is just another chapter of my travel career of living life on the go. This is a whole new ballgame.
We thought you were an expert traveler, but we'll really find out on Friday.
It's going to put all my travel hacks to the test.
Do you have any travel? I know this is going to be a new 2.0 of traveling with a baby, but do you have any like top travel hacks when you travel as a person? Because I feel like I had to figure out like my snacks and what to, I have my travel bags and things like that. But are there any things that you're like, when I travel, I do these 3 things?
Yeah. So one of them is what I'm obsessed with now is I just lay out all the outfits. I'm like, okay, day, night. And the thing is like when I'm traveling for work, my schedule is very predictable. Like I know where I'm going to be. I'm on such a short time frame for each day and each place that I'm in. So I know lunch, dinner, outfits. And so I plan it and then I pack each outfit into like a packing cube, accessories and all. So it zips up so that when I get to where I am, I don't have to unpack and I'm not digging through the suitcase. So I have to repack to make everything fit. Everything's in its own bag. So I just like take it out and I don't have to necessarily unpack everything when I get there.
Oh, so I think I've been using travel cubes wrong because that makes a lot more sense. So every day you take out a new cube and your whole outfit, accessories, tight shoes, everything is in that.
Yeah. Well, shoes not in the packing cube, but yes,
clothing,
everything.
Underwear.
That's what I do. I mean, I know that people do it to like make things like less wrinkly and put like all their shirts in a cube and all the underwear in it. No, I do outfit by cube.
I love it because I usually shove it. I'm like, people say this can help me put more clothes in a suitcase, so let me just shove it in. And so it does not come wrinkle free. And then I can't find anything. And I see that is a great hack. So I also
put like I obviously have my Care.ē.on kit, but I have like chargers. I have the things that I always need. I don't take my charger out and use it in my apartment. I have travel thing, like my travel charger and my travel items all together. So it's just outfits and go. My skincare, my Care.ē.on.
Separate.
Yeah, like my vitamins I take every day, I'm not taking them from my medicine cabinet and putting them in my bag. They're already in there.
Oh my God, this is brilliant. Yeah. Okay, it seems like you're a pro in travel.
When I was pregnant, they're like, what's in your hospital bag? Have you prepared? I was like, I've had a hospital bag for 12 years. Like, I literally have never been more prepared for this. I was never a morning person until I had a child. Because I'm like, if I'm going to have any time for myself, it's now while he's asleep in the morning. Forget about it. Because the rest of the day, I have two full-time jobs. So, and a baby. So I now wake up early. But I used to never be one of those people. I just want to set the record straight on that one. I'm not one of those people. I'm not not annoying. You do get a lot more done, but then you're also going to bed earlier. It's all about compromise. But yeah, I just want to lay the record straight. I'm not one of those annoying, weird people. But yes, I get up at 6:30 and I have my green juice. I have my coffee. I have 10, 15 minutes for myself in quietness. And then I do my whole skincare routine. I get dressed for the day. And then by the time I'm done with that, it's 8 a.m. He wakes up at 8 a.m. I feed him. I wash him up, diaper change, burp, the whole thing. That takes like an hour and a half. And then now we're at like 9:30. And then I have books with him. He loves his books. So we read books for 30 minutes. He goes back down for a nap. And then I have from 10 to 12. So that's when I'll work out for an hour. I like to do Pilates. I love New York Pilates. I love Forma. Forma is very intimidating. It is not for the weak, but it is amazing. I really like Forma, but it's intimidating. You'll see what I mean if you go. It's just really intimate. So like everyone's looking at you and it's like everyone's at Forma is like hardcore advanced Pilates. Well, the one on the Upper East Side, there's 4 machines. And I did fall into the machine on the first time that I went there. And I think that I'm just like still traumatized and still, I'm still mentally recovering from that one. So maybe it's just a me thing and I just get nervous. But yeah, I like Forma. And then I will have like a smoothie or a salad, something that I've prepared already that's fast and grab and go. Because by the time I shower and get home, he's up, and then feed, diaper change, burp again. There's another hour and a half. Then I have about 45 minutes left. So then I will take him on a walk. I take him to the park every day. And if it's rainy, then we do a dance party in the apartment. And it goes back down. And then I have 2 hours again. Now we're at like 2:30. And I do emails and like Zoom calls for those 2 hours. And then he's up again at 4. Feed, change, diaper, the whole thing. That's an hour and a half. And then I give him to his dad. His dad usually comes home from work around that time. I am doing last calls of the day, Zoom calls, emails, and then we do bath time and read. He goes down. I have dinner with my husband, and then I do more emails and more Zoom calls. So yeah. And then modeling for right now, I've put a pause on. And that was also something that I was like, oh, I can do this like right after. And physically, like I'm almost like back to where I feel calm. I think physically, I'm almost there. Mentally, I need a little bit more time. And that's like something that I didn't really put in like to consideration when like saying yes to all these things pre-baby that I committed to. Like last week, I was in London for this Rolls-Royce event for Care.ē.on, which I had committed to a year ago. And in my head, I'm like, oh, that's fine. My baby will be like 2.5 months. Like that will be fine. The pop-up store, I'm like 2 months, like it'll be fine. That's plenty of time. Now I'm like, clearly I've never had a kid before because that is insane. Yeah, I'm going to London. I think once I do that, I'll be good to go back to modeling. And now I'm like, I can't leave again anytime soon. My son is like my whole world right now and definitely my main priority. And modeling, I mean, I've been doing it for half my life. Like I've done, knock on wood, like I'm so happy and so blessed. I've checked every box that I've wanted to do and like every goal, every like campaign, every dream job. Like I set a goal when I was 18 years old. I made a list. I had this like in my childhood bedroom, I had sticky notes of all the photographers, all the stylists that I wanted to work with. And I've checked them all off. And so I'm like, I feel very content with my career and I'm like very happy and I'm in no means quitting anytime soon or stopping, but I don't think I'm going to be on a plane every other day like I used to. Maybe once a week, maybe once every other week, but not every other day. Slowly going back. I love making smoothies and I put bananas and blueberries, almond butter, chia seeds. Because I'm still breastfeeding, I use, I think it's called Peril. It's a like pregnancy safe, breastfeeding safe, like greens superfood, which is great. I actually love that brand. I need to pronounce it correctly and figure out what it's called. Peril. It's great. I also use them for my like supplements, like the prenatals. They're great. So I have a scoop of that, almond butter. Yeah. So I have my greens, my fruit. I do almond milk. Grab and go food is so easy for unhealthy food, but for healthy food, it's hard to find something that's also easy to make and healthy and make it taste good. And it's my pump and dump stash that I use for it. So I just have a mini fridge of pump and dump that is now like my acne corrector mini fridge. Yeah, it's disgusting. But yeah, I'm giving it to my friends as well. I was like, just trust me on this one. They're like, okay, like this is crazy, but we'll try it. My friends are like, want to go out tonight? Because we need you pumping and dumping because we need more of the stash. We just have introduced a new product that I love. It's our layover lip mask. It's so good. I love it. And I think that was a missing piece to the Care.ē.on kit because that's one product that I really, obviously all of them have my love and dedication and like so much testing and research and trial and error. But the lip mask, I feel not a lot of people nail a lip mask and it had to be perfect. And I worked on it for so long. And now that I finally got to a place where like we're ready for the lip mask, it's going to have its own moment. So the layover lip mask is having its moment right now. It just came out last week. So that's been a fun addition to the kit. And I think, yeah, we have 2 more products that are coming out next year that I've been also working on a lot for. So yeah, the kits are building, which is really exciting and expanding.
Madison, thank you so much for coming on the Care.ē.on podcast. It was amazing to catch up with you and learn all about your incredible journey.